Hello, my darlings. Madam Raven here on another wonderful Steampunk Saturday. I've brought to you today a prequel to Elf by Dentonius. This one's entitled Gaslight. The amber glow of the gaslight did little to penetrate the gloom of the fog. Sound seemed muffled, and all the man could hear was his own rhythmic steps as he continued his patrol. Inspector of the Delran's watch, he moved steadily on. Working alone without an automata backing, he'd been betrayed by their cumbersome size and mechanical crunch too often to keep his as a chaperone like the rest of the watch. Moving towards the river, he neared the completion of the first round. A brief stop at the watch station near the docks, and he'd begin again. The slow sloshing of the water on the riverbanks told him he was getting close. The steady rhythm let him know that no boats had recently passed. The brighter glow of the watch house began to form from within the shroud of vapor. The two simple squares of the windows, but also the inverted L shape of the partially open door. Apprehension grew in his chest as he approached the open door. The silent sentinels of the 9 feet of brass, bronze, and steel were missing. The watch automata were not at their posts. No disgorging of coal fire smoke from their backs, as the boiler within their metal shells kept the mechanical and alchemical forms of animation alive. He put his hand to the door and gently pushed it inside. The tables and chairs were upturned. Drinks and cards scattered on the floor. Not a sign of a struggle, but more of rapid departure. The weapons racks were empty. Wherever the watchmen had gone, they had left rapidly and with the automata. The inspector stepped out of the small building. Glancing round, the fog was still impenetrable. He closed his eyes and listened, ignoring the faint thud in his ears from his heart. He let the sounds drift towards him. The sloshing of the water at the riverbank, the creak of the wood of the warehouses, the dull thrum of engines in the distance, and the metallic wrenching coming from nearby. The last noise brought him out of his reverie, and he headed towards the riverside. Drawing his revolver, he prepared for the worst he could think of. The tattered remains of the watchman and automata. What he found when the fog suddenly parted at the riverside was worse. The two watch automata were battling each other, bladed left hands clanking and sparking with blow after blow, the clawed right arm parrying and attempting to rip at the opposition. How could he have not heard this battle, he was unsure, and how it seemed so dull now where the combatants were only a few feet away. He glanced around looking for the watchmen. He found them a crumpled, mangled form at the automata's feet, along with the cause for the strange behavior. A dwarf stood topless, his own arms mechanical, fused to flesh, and powered by ruins and alchemy. A dwarf technology, yet to be shared with the world. The arms were outstretched, and an alternating blue and green light shimmered down their length. The inspector glanced to the battling automata and could see the same glow echoing within their eyes. A hollow void used as a location to look towards, not a functional mind, at least not usually. The inspector slowly raised the pistol and took aim at the mechanical mage. Only with the pistol's aimed towards him did the dwarf notice the inspector's presence. Words began to form on the cracked lips, and the inspector fired. The bullet tore through the dwarf's chest. The energy pulsing through the arms faded, and the sound of two machines, aimed towards destruction, tore through the air. Rending metal and clanking blades echoed across the river and around the buildings. The vibrations from the battle shuddered through the earth, and the inspector nearly lost his balance. A final thunderous clash, and the two automata dropped to the ground. One body rent open from the clod, and the other, the bladed arm, had delved deep within. The inspector walked forward, pulled a cigar from his coat pocket, and used the dying flames from the automata to light it. He walked down the embankment and found what the dwarfen mage had been protecting: the mangled forms of inert flesh and steel golems. The metal would have been accepted as an automata, but the fused flesh was an abomination. He felt sick. Bile began to rise, but he forced it down. Taking another long pull on the cigar, he used its pungent smoke to cover the smell of the decayed flesh. It was when he looked closer that he collapsed to his knees. The warped faces were, at first, difficult to recognize, but once he'd recognized one, the rest fell into place. They were the faces of his family. All his relatives he had seen put to rest, mangled and merged into a rotting pile of flesh. His mind cracked. So quoth this raven. And if you like this steampunk spectacular, please, my darlings, like and subscribe. Visit Dentonius. And if you leave a comment, I will comment back. I love to talk to you. Bye-bye, my darlings.